Hi, I'm Dave Mason. Musically, I'm actually from a town called Worcester, England. And I was about 15 when I started playing guitar. Seemed like a lot of other people were doing it, and I thought, you know what, I could probably do this. Since I wasn't going to work from 9 to 5, and I couldn't get in the Royal Air Force, which is what I really wanted to do, since my math skills were not that good. So guitar just became a way for me to sort of became my magic carpet. And basically, I just pursued it and stuck with it. And pretty much by the time I was 18, I started a band called Traffic with Steve Winwood and Jim Capaldi and Chris Wood. And that went on to have some success. I did 2 albums with them, and then around 1968, I left England and moved to America, and stayed at spent a lot of time at the Chateau Marmont. That's when I first came here, and '69 or so is actually when I first met Lee Taylor Young at the Chateau Marmont. And some years went by, I did some solo albums, and eventually we hooked up again somewhere in 74. And Lee was living in a house in Benedict Canyon at the time. And of course I was chasing her again. And so I would go over there a lot, and they would have these sort of not AA meetings, but meetings. Hi, my name is. And I found out she'd been attached and been involved with a movement called MSIA. And I frankly was not, I've never been, I mean, I'm C of E, so Church of England, which was Henry VIII, who couldn't get divorced, so he started his own church. So I've never been really much involved in that, and but I was getting really involved with Lee. And so, and at the time, she had this little house above the house in Benedict Canyon up on this hill, and there was a tree which she'd hung a whole bunch of crystals in. And I'd heard the term mystic traveler enough times during these meetings that would happen at her house. And the title of it just intrigued me so much. And I have a, what I consider a strong spiritual side of me. It's not religious in any way. It's more of a, oh, was that my wake-up call? Anyway.
You were talking about you have a religious side.
Yeah, I have a strong spiritual, I have a strong,
But that's his computer, his muted.
yeah.
No, don't move. We got it. You got it?
Just close the lid, I think. Just put it off.
So you're talking about the spiritual side.
So yeah, I mean, I have a strong, spiritual side. I'm very aware of cause and effect, and you put out, you put bad shit out, bad shit's gonna come back. So put good stuff out, and hopefully good things will come towards you. So, and I knew a little bit about the movement, and it was just it seemed like something that was just very. I mean, I know people sort of look at it and have termed it a cult or whatever you want to call it, or a movement or whatever. But the point about it was whatever was going on there with JohnRoger and stuff seemed very. It just seemed there was just good stuff. There was good energy. The people were all really nice, and so I sort of got involved with it by default through Lee, and never really involved. And so anyway, I wrote the song Mystic Traveler, which I put on an album called Let It Flow. And Lee was very excited about the song. I said, you have to sing this for JohnRoger. You have to sing this for JohnRoger. So I forget what year, maybe 75 or so, going into 76 maybe, because the album Let It Flow came out in, I think, 76. But anyway, so I went to, I forget exactly where it was. There was a MSI meeting, and so I sang the song to JohnRoger, and and I guess in a way it's just been adopted, and it's synonymous with what the term is for him, which is the mystic traveler. And it's nice to know that it's been adopted that way by the people in that movement. Again, they're everything they try to do is just very positive, and trying to build somebody's own center and reinforce it, and just some help in the world in a positive form. So I'm all for it.
Can you talk about, the lyrics are phenomenal, and did the song have success? So 2 questions. How was the mechanics of you sitting down and writing it? Did it come all of a sudden after you did a toss and turn with Lee Taylor Young one night? Or what was it? Was she your muse?
Yes, well, Lee was definitely my muse, I guess, for most of the music during that period. But I don't know. It's just, I mean, I have a lot of, there are references not directly to a spiritual side of things in a number of my songs. Frankly, I think I try to write stuff that's timeless, and human relationships basically are always timeless, and that's what we're dealing with. As the man said, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and I think that's true. So to write the lyrics wasn't really that hard. I mean, I had the opening line for it right there, hanging in a crystal tree, and then a love light shines for all to see. And then it was just, basically I would write it from my point of view personally. That's the way I wrote it, because in our hearts we know the way it goes. And I'm certainly living all that I can live and giving all that I can give. So it was not a hard song really to write at all. Some songs are, some aren't. Some come quick and some don't. But that one was pretty much, it just sort of fell out. Yeah.
And did you have any inner experiences meeting JohnRoger? Can you
I
talk
don't
about
kn-
the first time you met him? What was that like?
Well, the first time was more for me about the fact that I had to sing him this song, and mostly it's for me. It was just I'm not used to playing and singing stuff to somebody myself. Fine with a band and a group of people up there, but otherwise I was at the time. Back then, it was I was really nervous about singing the song. I wasn't nervous from the point of view of what any sort of spiritual attributes or who the man was or who the man wasn't. It wasn't really anything to do with that. I was just downright nervous because I hadn't sung the song before to anybody. So, yeah.
And did you have any inner experiences afterwards or while with Lee when you were involved in that movement? You did hint towards they were doing something good. Was there an inner thing that you, I mean, I would equate that the 60s had an amazing energy anyway, as I wasn't, I would imagine based on what I'm seeing. So was it something that everyone was flowing through on the tide of greatness? Did you feel it? I mean, were you peaking then?
I don't know. I don't know if it's hard to know while you're going through it. It's hindsight. You can go, oh, that's what was going on back. I mean, history's happening every second. So, but when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to. You're just there. I mean, it's just people would. When people say, all the people you played with, the artists you've worked with, Hendrix, McCartney, Stevie Wonder, and it's amazing, and this, and for me, it was my life. It's just where I was. I know maybe it sounds a little, what would be the word? I don't know, a little simplistic, but for me, that's the way I just look at it. I mean, I try to treat everybody the same, deal with them, the people, rich, poor, indifferent. I just take people for who they are. So I don't know if I've truly had any really spiritual experiences that way. I don't know if I have or not. I have a very vivid recollection of being very young at the house by myself in England, growing up, and going to the foot of the stairs, and there was a shimmering figure at the top of the stairs, things like that. I had definitely had one with my mother when she passed. I had her at home, and she passed with cancer, and I had been up all night with her, helping her go, and I was just beat. And I went and laid on the chaise in the kitchen, and I had these very strong, like 4 very powerful violet lights, like more violet and purple. And then my mother's face just looking like she'd just come from the hairdresser, smiling, and just went over me. So, you know, it's nice to it's nice to think that there's, you know, something goes on after after you've just, you know, thrown the clothing away.
I want to ask I got to ask this question because I'm here and I've never ever met the guy. Was there, I'm sure everybody asks you, what was it like to play or be with Hendrix? Was there something that is unordinary was there a zone and a connection that the two of you had, and can you talk about that without it being so musical? But, you know, I think you were onto something when you said you treat everybody equal. And so he's just another guy that you met. But again, it's the 60s. It's that only afterwards do you say, oh yeah, that was like, I was in that time period. But was it as energetic at the time as we feel it is when we watch the footage?
Was it as energetic at the time? It was, yeah, better.
Yeah.
It was highly enhanced.
Can you take us there for just a minute?
I don't know if I can take you there. I mean, I don't, you know, it's hard. You can't, I mean, Hendrix was just, you know, there are just people that are just, they come out that way, talent. They're just, and they're pushing the boundaries of stuff, you know, and he was one of those guys, you know. I mean, I heard him play in a little club in London before anybody ever heard him. And I was just like, well, I better look for another instrument to play. It just, he was pretty amazing. And rather quiet off stage, privately. Never saw him without a guitar in his hands, frankly.
And that leads me to this question about musicians. Inside of you, and I've seen you play some amazing stuff in the House of Blues. I was like, oh, that's Hendrix. You know, I could feel it. What's going inside of you when you're jamming? Are you in the zone, or are you waiting
Well, if it's
are you waiting for the gig to end and get the hell out of there, or?
Sometimes, but if it's really happening, then nothing's going on inside. You're just doing it.
And you're present.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think goes for anything, frankly.
I think we're done here, but can you say into the camera, as if you're talking to JR, what you'd like to tell him?
JR, I love your work. I love what you've done all these years, and God bless you. And hopefully I'll see you soon.